Hyaluronidase in vivo. Understanding the different properties of the HA fillers is important, such as G', viscosity, concentration, and degree of cross-linking. For example, Juvederm Ultra has a higher concentration, Restylane L has a lower concentration and higher G', Voluma has Vicross, which is a higher degree of cross-linking. And despite being one of the dermal fillers with the lowest viscosity and G', Bellatero Balance has 2 stages of cross-linking. There have been great papers that have described these properties of the fillers. But what about the responsiveness to hyaluronidase? Because sometimes, there are times instead of dissolving all of the filler, like for ischemia, we may be interested in only partial dissolution for overfill. The main hyaluronidases on the market here are Vitrace and Hylenex. We chose the human recombinant form. We randomized 18 arms to Restylane, Juvederm, or Voluma, therefore 6 arms of each filler. Each form had 7 injection sites randomized to receive varying doses of Hylenex or controls. The 6 sites randomized to receive filler were first injected with 0.2 mLs of 1 HA gel intradermally. A 7th also was randomized for no filler placement to be a control hyaluronidase only. 1 week later, each site then received its assigned randomized treatment of equal volumes of saline or Hylenex, or left alone as a control. This was our intradermal injection technique. Each site was measured and graded using diameter, firmness, and elevation as proxies for rate of dissolution. Our time points were from after the initial HA placement, then the first few minutes and hours, days, and through 2 weeks, and all the way out to 4 years. We used a 4-point scale for firmness and elevation, with 3 being most elevated and firm, and 0 being no visible elevation or palpable nodule. All subjects, graders, and injectors were masked. During the dissolution, the greatest changes for all fillers occurred at about the 30-minute mark through hour 3, with continued minimal degradation to day 3 and minimal change to week 2 and beyond. By 2 years, all the fillers, including the control sites, were completely gone, except for 1 set of Restylane controls. This chart shows firmness grading averaged over all 6 Juvederm arms over time. Note the difference between the controls and Hylenex sites, with orange being no manipulation and teal receiving saline only. The blue is 2.5 units, and the purple is 20 units. So this suggests a dose response. A similar profile is seen for Restylane, which dissolves faster even on its own, except for that 1 arm at 4 years for control. Voluma shows more resistance to dissolution, especially at the lower doses of hyaluronidase, as expected. This chart shows the averages for firmness % change for each filler site that received 2.5 units of hyaluronidase. Note that 2.5 units has the least effect on Voluma as compared to Juvederm and Restylane. The same trends were seen with the other parameters we measured, elevation and diameter. In the 1 arm that had Restylane even 4 years after injection, the saline-only bump dissolved completely after 1 injection of 10 units of hyaluronidase. The no injection control site required 2 separate injections of 10 units and still has some residual palpable fibrotic changes. All fillers had a dose response, with Voluma exhibiting the most clearly, requiring more than 20 units per 0.2 mLs of filler. Restylane was the most sensitive to hyaluronidase, responding to even 2.5 units. Rarely, fillers can last even over 4 years in vivo without dissolution, and may even have some residual fibrotic change. So for overfill, we propose considering this dosing. For every 0.2 mLs of filler, use 2.5 to 5 units for Restylane, 5 to 10 units for Juvederm Ultra, and more than 20 for Voluma. Ideally, we could do this for all the HA fillers on the market, but it is hard to recruit that many volunteers who are willing to have arm bumps. So my next step was to test all 12 FDA-approved hyaluronic acid gel fillers in the US market ex vivo, and then compare it to the in vivo data for extrapolation. And my star med student, Christine Ryu, who spent hundreds of hours in the lab doing all these trials, will present this for us.
Hi everyone, I'd like to thank Dr. Zhang-Nunes as well as our resident physician, Dr. Jonathan Luke, for all their help. So these are the 12 hyaluronic acid fillers that are FDA approved and available on the US market, and we dissolve them with various doses of Hyaluronidase ex vivo. 6 trials were done for each filler. The 2 controls were gel only and saline injection. All injection volumes are standardized to 0.15 mLs, and that includes with the varying doses of Hyaluronidase. Photographs and height measurements were taken before injection, as well as at various time points up to 3 hours after injection. So here we can see that even with saline alone, we can decrease the height. However, the texture and the appearance of the filler remains grainy unless Hyaluronidase is applied. Like in the in vivo study, Restylane L responds well to even just 2.5 units of Hyaluronidase with 0.2 cc's of filler. With 20 units of Hyaluronidase, the filler completely and rapidly liquefies. Here we can see that both Belotero and Restylane L have decreased in height, but Belotero actually retains its form, and this is likely due to preserved cross-linking. This results slide summarizes the results for all 12 of our fillers. We categorize them into 3 groups based on their responsiveness to the Hyaluronidase. This categorization was based on height as well as appearance. And here we see the appearance of all 12 fillers 3 hours after being injected with 20 units of Hyaluronidase. For the most resistant fillers, we actually did an additional trial with 40 units of Hyaluronidase. Voluma was the most resistant filler, and Volbella was the most responsive to 40 units of Hyaluronidase. So after studying all the data and images, it became apparent that Restylane L and Lift are easy to dissolve, unlike the remainder of the Restylane family, including Refine and Define. This is in contrast with Voluma, which is also a cheek filler like Lift, but Voluma was the most resistant to Hyaluronidase. Juvederm Ultra Plus and Versa also required high doses for dissolution, as did all the Vicross products. Surprisingly, the dermal fillers Belotero and Restylane Silk were more resistant to hyaluronidase. And this is interesting because in the cases of ischemia or biofilm or allergic reaction, you can't respond solely on the appearance of flattening as a marker for complete dissolution and breaking up of the cross-linking. So applying the in vivo dosing results in red to the ex vivo categories, this is the approximate dosing recommendations for dissolution of all 12 hyaluronic acid fillers on the US market. Thank you.
Our next talk